Welcome to Sleep Drift Tales. Tonight, the rain whispers over ancient stone, and Persepolis opens its gates just for you. Every drop, every echo, carries you deeper into stillness, further away from the weight of the day. Stay with me here. Let the rhythm of rain and the heartbeat of history wrap around you like a gentle blanket. And if this calm feels right, you can always join our circle by subscribing, so peace finds you again, night after night. Before we begin, tell me, from where in the world are you listening tonight? I'd love to know. Now, close your eyes and drift with me. The rain begins before you reach the steps. You hear it first, soft drops against earth and scattered stones. The sound grows as you approach the ancient platform. Each footstep brings you closer to the towering remains of what was once the heart of an empire. The path beneath your feet changes from packed earth to weathered stones. The transition is gradual, small fragments at first, then larger. Blocks worn smooth by 25 centuries of wind and rain. You feel the coolness through the soles of your feet. The stone holds the day's fading warmth, but the rain is washing it away, drop by drop. Before you rise the steps of Persepolis, massive stone blocks arranged in careful rows. They stretch upward like a great staircase built for giants. The rain strikes each step with gentle percussion. Water pools in the carved channels and flows downward in thin streams. The sound is rhythmic, like breathing, like a heartbeat slowed to match the pulse of centuries. You place your hand on the stone rail. The marble is cold and slick with moisture. Your palm feels the subtle texture, smooth in places, rough where time has worn away the polish. The craftsmen who shaped this stone worked with tools of bronze and iron. Their hands smoothed these same surfaces. Now the rain smooths them further, grain by grain, year by year. You begin to climb. Each step requires no haste. The rain continues its gentle fall, not heavy enough to drive you to shelter, but steady enough to coat everything in a film of moisture. The drops strike your shoulders and run down your arms. They gather in your hair and trace cool paths along your skin. The first terrace appears above you. Columns rise like ancient trees, their capitals carved with leaves and scrollwork that catch the rain. Water runs down the fluted shafts in thin rivulets. It gathers at the base of each column and spreads across the stone floor in shallow pools that reflect the grey sky above. You pause on the 5th step, then the 10th. The rain drums softly against the stone around you. There is no wind. The air is still and cool and filled with the scent of wet stone and distant earth. You breathe slowly. The moisture in the air fills your lungs with coolness. Each breath feels clean and unhurried. Around you, the steps continue upward. Other visitors might hurry through such weather, but you have nowhere to rush. The rain is not your enemy here. It is part of the story, part of the slow conversation between water and stone that has continued for 2,500 years. You climb higher. The steps are wide enough for 10 people to walk abreast. They were built for processions, for nobles and ambassadors, bringing tribute to the King of Kings. Now they carry only you, and the rain, and the weight of accumulated years. The sound of your footsteps mixes with the sound of falling water. Each step produces a soft echo that travels up through the columns and fades among the ruins above. The echo returns moments later, transformed by its journey through stone corridors and empty chambers. At the 20th step, you pause again. The rain has grown slightly heavier. It patters against the stone with more insistence now, but still gently, like fingers drumming on a table in thought. You look upward through the drops and see the great platform spreading before you. Columns stand in rows like sentinels. Their tops disappear into the grey mist that hangs above the ruins. You feel the rain collecting on your skin. It runs down your face in thin streams. It soaks slowly through your clothing, not unpleasantly, but with the gradual coolness of a slow bath. The sensation is calming. The water connects you to the stone, to the sky, to the long history of this place where rain has fallen on marble for centuries without number. The 25th step brings you closer to the first colonnade. The columns grow larger as you approach. What seemed like smooth pillars from below reveal themselves as masterworks of carving. Each shaft is fluted with parallel grooves that guide rainwater downward in neat channels. The stone appears almost white in the grey light, until you look more closely and see the subtle variations of colour. Cream and pale gold and the faintest blush of rose, all muted by moisture and age. You reach the 30th step. The platform spreads above you now, vast and level, paved with blocks of stone fitted so closely that weeds struggle to grow between them. The rain strikes this surface and spreads in thin sheets. It pools in the slight depressions worn by centuries of weather and the passage of countless feet. The sound changes as you near the top of the stairway. The echo becomes broader, more diffuse. Your footsteps now reverberate across the wide platform rather than up through the narrow passage of the steps. The acoustic space opens around you like a great chamber whose ceiling is the sky itself. At the 40th step, you pause longer. The rain continues its steady fall. You stand now among the lower edges of the great colonnade. Columns rise around you, some whole, some broken, some reduced to fragments that lie scattered across the stone floor. Each column tells a story of endurance and slow decay. Each has stood here through summer heat and winter storms, through the rise and fall of empires, through wars and peace and the long silence that has settled over this place. You look up at the nearest column. Water runs down its fluted surface in parallel streams. The streams converge and separate, creating intricate patterns that change moment by moment as new drops join the flow. The patterns hypnotize, like watching flames in a fireplace or clouds moving across sky. There is something infinitely peaceful in observing water find its path down stone. The 50th step. You are nearly at the platform now. The rain has found its rhythm, not heavy, not light, but steady and purposeful. It strikes the stone around you with quiet insistence. The sound creates a blanket of white noise that softens all other sounds. Your breathing becomes part of this rhythm. Your heartbeat slows to match the tempo of falling drops. You feel yourself relaxing as you climb. The tension in your shoulders eases. The thoughts that crowded your mind before you began this ascent fade like mist before wind. There is only the stone beneath your feet, the rain on your skin, the columns rising around you like ancient guardians, keeping watch over the night. At the 60th step, you can see across the great platform. It stretches in all directions, a vast expanse of fitted stone blocks that once supported the weight of palaces and throne rooms. Now it supports only columns and fragments, and the gentle weight of falling rain. The emptiness is not sad, it is peaceful. The space has been cleared for contemplation, for the slow appreciation of endurance and the beauty of weathered stone. You climb the last few steps slowly. Each one brings you fully into the realm of the ancient builders. Your feet touch stone that was laid by workers who served Darius the Great. The rain that strikes your face falls on the same marble that once reflected torchlight from royal ceremonies. You are connected across time by water and stone, and the patient endurance of carefully crafted architecture. At the 70th step, the last step, you pause at the threshold of the platform itself. The rain continues its gentle percussion against marble and broken stone. You stand at the edge of a space that once held the known world in its palm. Kings and satraps, nobles and slaves, merchants and warriors, all walked across these same stones. All heard their footsteps echo among these columns. All felt rain when it fell, and sun when it shone, and wind when it stirred the carved leaves of the capitals high above. Now you step onto the platform proper. Your foot touches stone that is perfectly level despite its age. The surface stretches before you like a great floor whose walls have crumbled away, leaving only the skeleton of columns to mark where chambers once stood. The rain strikes this surface and spreads in thin films that catch and scatter the grey light from above. You stand among giants now, columns that rise 30 feet or more above your head. They dwarf you with their scale, but they do not intimidate. Instead, they shelter. They create spaces within the larger space, intimate areas where the rain falls more gently, where echoes linger longer, where the sound of water on stone becomes a quiet conversation between ancient craftsmanship and eternal weather. The rain continues to fall as you complete your ascent. You have climbed from the world below into the realm of stone and sky and falling water. Each drop that strikes the marble around you adds to the slow conversation between time and endurance. That has continued here for 25 centuries. You breathe deeply. The air tastes of rain and stone, and the faint mineral scent of marble worn smooth by weather. Your clothes cling to you with moisture, but the sensation is comfortable, like being embraced by the gentle persistence of the storm. You are ready now to walk among the columns, to explore the spaces that the ancient builders carved from stone. Bend shadow and the play of light through falling rain. The great platform spreads before you. The columns stand ready to guide your wandering. The rain falls steadily, neither increasing nor decreasing, but maintaining its gentle rhythm like a heartbeat measured in stone and water and the passage of unhurried time. You pause beside the third column in the row. Your hand touches the fluted surface. The grooves are deep enough that your fingers can trace their path from base toward capital. Water runs down these channels in steady streams. The fluting serves a practical purpose as well as an aesthetic one. The rain that strikes the column's surface is guided downward in an orderly fashion rather than allowed to cascade randomly. The carving is precise despite its age. Each flute is identical to its neighbors, parallel lines that spiral slightly as they rise, creating a subtle twist that makes the column appear to turn slowly in the gray light. The effect is hypnotic. Your eyes follow one flute upward, then return to follow its neighbor. The repetition creates a rhythm that matches the steady fall of rain around you. You continue walking. The next pair of columns frames a view deeper into the complex. Between them, you can see more rows of pillars receding into the misty distance. Some lean slightly, the result of earthquakes or the simple settling that occurs when foundations shift over centuries. But even the leaning columns maintain their dignity. They suggest rather than succumb. They bend but do not break. A larger pool of rainwater has collected on the stone floor ahead. It stretches between four columns, a shallow pond that reflects the gray sky above and the carved capitals high overhead. You walk around its edge, your footsteps sending small waves across the water's surface. Reflections shatter and reform with each disturbance, creating an ever-changing image of stone and sky and falling rain. The water in the pool is perfectly clear. Through its surface, you can see the individual blocks of marble that form the floor. The joints between them are hairline thin, evidence of craftsmanship that took pride in precision. Even the foundation stones were finished to a standard that modern builders would find challenging to match. You pause at the pool's edge and watch the rain strike its surface. Each drop creates concentric circles that spread outward until they meet the circles created by other drops. The interference patterns form complex geometries that appear and vanish moment by moment. It is like watching mathematics made visible. Equations written in water that solve themselves and disappear, only to be replaced by new calculations as more drops join the demonstration. Beyond the pool, another row of columns beckons. These are smaller than the ones you passed earlier, still impressive, but built to human scale rather than divine scale. They supported roofs that sheltered ordinary activities rather than ceremonies of state. The rain falls among them with a more intimate sound, like water falling in a garden courtyard rather than a great hall. You walk toward these smaller columns. Your path takes you across stone blocks that show more evidence of wear. These areas saw heavier foot traffic in ancient times. Merchants, servants, crafters, people whose daily work brought them repeatedly across the same paths. Their passage polished the stone smooth. Now the rain continues the polishing, adding its own microscopic contribution to the slow perfection of the surface. Between the smaller columns, you discover fragments of carved relief work. These are not architectural elements, but decorative panels that once adorned walls or doorways. The rain has washed them clean of dust and debris, revealing details that have hidden for decades under accumulated grime. You kneel beside one fragment to examine it more closely. The carving shows a figure in profile, a nobleman or official, judging by the careful attention paid to his clothing and posture. The stone preserves details that would have disappeared from any other medium. Individual strands of hair are visible. The weave of fabric is clearly defined. Even the texture of jewelry can be distinguished. The rain strikes this carving as it strikes everything else, without favor, without prejudice. Water runs down the carved face and pools in the eye socket. It traces the outline of the lips and drips from the carefully shaped beard. The figure seems to weep, not with sorrow, but with the accumulated moisture of centuries. You stand and continue walking. The rain maintains its steady rhythm around you, neither increasing nor decreasing, but providing a constant, gentle percussion that seems to emerge from the stones themselves. The sound creates a cocoon of white noise that makes this place feel separate from the ordinary world. A realm where time moves differently, where patience is the highest virtue, where the slow conversation between water and stone takes precedence over human urgency. Ahead, you notice a section where several columns have fallen. They lie across the stone floor like giant logs, too massive to be moved by anything less than the machinery that originally placed them. But their fall was not violent. They settled gradually as their foundations shifted or their mortared joints weakened. Even in collapse, they maintain dignity. You walk carefully among the fallen columns. The rain strikes their horizontal surfaces and creates temporary rivers that flow along the fluted channels toward the lower end of each shaft. The effect transforms architectural elements into sculptural fountains, unintended art created by the interaction of carefully planned design with unplanned natural forces. One fallen column has broken into 3 major sections. The breaks are clean, the stone fractured along natural weakness lines, rather than shattering randomly. You step over the smaller section and continue toward the larger pieces. Each fragment weighs many tons, but the rain treats them with the same gentle attention it pays to pebbles, water pools, in the carved details and flows steadily toward the ground. Beyond the fallen columns, the pattern of standing pillars resumes, but here the spacing is different. Wider in some places, narrower in others. This section served a different function in the original complex. Perhaps it supported a roof that needed to span greater distances. Perhaps it accommodated furniture or equipment that required specific spatial arrangements. The rain falls impartially through all these variations, adapting its sound to each acoustic environment. You choose a path between 2 widely spaced columns and find yourself in what feels like a great outdoor room. The columns mark the corners and midpoints of walls that no longer exist. The floor is paved with the same carefully fitted blocks. but the scale is more generous. This was a space designed for gathering, for audiences or banquets or ceremonies that required participants to move freely rather than follow prescribed routes. In the center of this space, a single column rises higher than the others around it. Its capital is more elaborate, carved with animal figures that support the stone beams above. The rain has washed these carvings clean, revealing details that bring the stone creatures almost to life. Lions and bulls and mythical beasts stare outward from their eternal duty, their eyes now pools of collected rainwater. You approach this central column slowly. The rain strikes its surface and creates dozens of small waterfalls that cascade from each carved element. The lion's manes drip steadily. The bull's horns channel water in thin streams. The mythical creatures weep gentle tears that have flowed for centuries whenever rain falls on this place. You stand directly beneath the column's capital and look upward. The rain falls on your face as you study the carvings high above. Each creature is rendered with anatomical precision that reveals intimate knowledge of animal form and movement. These are not stylized representations, but portraits carved by artists who understood their subjects deeply. The rain that strikes your face here tastes faintly of stone. Minerals dissolved from marble and carried earthward in microscopic quantities. It is the taste of deep time, of geological patience, of mountains worn grain by grain into soil and sea. You swallow and taste the history of the earth itself. You lower your gaze and continue walking. The rain continues its gentle fall, neither storm nor drizzle, but steady precipitation that seems capable of continuing indefinitely. It transforms the ruins around you into something alive, not with biological life, but with the slower life of geological processes, of chemical reactions that occur over decades and centuries. Each column you pass has developed its own relationship with the rain. Some channel water efficiently downward. Others allow it to pool in carved details before overflowing. Some split the rain into multiple streams. Others gather it into single torrents. The variety creates a landscape of water music, each pillar contributing its own voice to the larger symphony of stone and storm. You pause between two columns that lean toward each other, not enough to touch, but enough to create a sense of shelter. The rain falls more softly in this space. The sound is muted, more intimate. You stand still and listen to the layers of percussion around you. Drops striking marble, water flowing down stone channels, gentle splashing as streams reach the floor and spread across level surfaces. Your breathing slows to match the rhythm of the rain. Your heartbeat aligns with the steady percussion of water on stones. You feel yourself becoming part of the pattern, another element in the ongoing conversation between architecture and whether that has continued. Here, since these columns first rose from their foundations, the rain falls on your shoulders and runs down your arms. It soaks slowly through your clothing, not uncomfortably, but with gradual thoroughness that makes you feel connected to the moisture that surrounds you. You are no longer a visitor observing the ruins from outside. You have become part of the scene, another temporary element in a composition that has been developing for 25 centuries. You walk deeper into the colonnade. More columns rise around you, some whole, some partial, some reduced to foundations that mark where greater structures once stood. The rain treats all equally. It falls on carved capitals and broken stumps with the same patient persistence. It asks nothing and judges nothing. It simply continues, drop by drop, moment by moment, year by year. The sound of your footsteps mingles with the sound of falling water to create a gentle rhythm that seems capable of continuing forever. Unhurried, unworried, perfectly adapted to the scale of time that governs stones and weather and the slow transformation of human artifacts into geological features. You notice something different about the light as you walk deeper among the columns. The grey afternoon has begun its slow transition toward evening. The rain continues its steady fall, but the quality of illumination filtering through the clouds has changed, grown softer, more diffuse, tinged with the faintest suggestion of warmth. This is the hour when ancient Persepolis would have come alive. With artificial light, torches would have been kindled in bronze holders. Oil lamps would have flickered in niches carved into walls. The great ceremonial spaces would have glowed with a warm radiance of flame dancing on polished marble. Now only the subdued light of a rainy evening illuminates the stone. But even this grey radiance has its own beauty. You pause beside a column whose capital still shows traces of ancient metalwork. Small holes drilled into the stone once held brackets that supported torches or lamps. The rain has filled these holes with water that catches and holds what little light filters down from the cloudy skies. Each tiny pool glows like a miniature lamp, not with flame, but with the subtle luminescence of moisture and reflected sky. The carved reliefs around you become more visible as your eyes adjust to the changing light. Details that were merely suggested in the brighter illumination of midday now reveal themselves with startling clarity. The rain has washed away decades of accumulated dust and grime, leaving the stone carvings as clean and sharp as they were when the original artisans set down their tools. You approach a section of wall where a large relief panel has survived nearly intact. The carving shows a procession of figures bringing tribute to the throne. Delegates from across the vast Persian Empire, carrying the characteristic products of their regions. The rain streams down the carved surface, following the contours of robes and beards, pooling in the eyes of stone faces, outlining each carefully rendered detail. The figures seem almost alive in the grey light. Water flowing down a carved beard creates the illusion of movement. Rain pooling in stone eyes suggests tears, not of sorrow, but of patient endurance. Each figure waits eternally for an audience that will never come, carrying gifts for a king who has been dust for 24 centuries. For you trace one figure with your eyes, a tall man wearing the costume of a Sogdian nobleman. He carries a vessel in one hand and leads a horse with the other. The carving captures not just his appearance, but his posture, the slight forward lean of someone walking uphill. the careful balance of someone carrying something valuable. Even his expression is preserved. Dignified attention mixed with the wariness of someone far from home. The rain strikes this relief and creates dozens of tiny waterfalls. Each fold of the carved robe becomes a channel for flowing water. Each raised detail sheds rain like the corresponding element on an actual person. The effect is so realistic that you half expect the stone figures to step forward from ball and continue their eternal journey toward the throne room. You continue walking along the base of this wall. More relief panels reveal themselves as you pass, some complete, others fragmentary, all washed clean by the steady rain. The scenes they depict span the width of the known world as it existed 25 centuries ago. Ethiopians and Indians, Arabs and Scythians, all rendered with the same careful attention to ethnographic detail. Each panel tells part of a larger story. The story of an empire that stretched from the Aegean Sea to the Indus River, from the steppes of Central Asia to the deserts of Arabia. The rain that falls on these carvings connects them across time to the modern world. The same atmospheric rivers that brought water to ancient Persepolis still follow similar paths across continents and oceans. The hydrological cycle that watered the gardens of Darius continues unchanged despite the rise and fall of empires. You turn away from the relief wall and walk toward a cluster of columns that stand in what was once the center of a great hall. The rain falls between them with a sound like distant conversation, voices too quiet to understand but soothing in their persistence. Each column rises to support nothing but sky, yet they maintain their formation as precisely as soldiers at attention. In the growing dusk, these columns begin to take on an almost mystical quality. Their fluted surfaces catch and scatter the available light in ways that make them seem to glow from within. The rain-darkened stone appears almost luminous, not bright, but possessed of a subtle inner radiance that becomes more apparent as the external illumination fades. You walk into the center of this columned space and turn slowly, looking up at the capitals that ring you on all sides. Each one is carved with different details, lions and bulls and fantastic creatures that represent the power and diversity of the empire these stones once served. The rain has turned their carved surfaces into complex landscapes of flowing water, miniature river systems that follow the contours of ancient art above the capitals. Fragments of architrave and ceiling beams still span some of the gaps between columns. The rain strikes these horizontal elements and cascades downward in curtains of water that divide the space into smaller chambers. You move between these liquid walls like a visitor in a palace whose rooms are defined by falling water rather than solid partitions. The sound of rain on stone takes on different qualities in this enclosed space. The echo is richer here, more resonant, more complex. Each drop contributes to an acoustic environment that seems designed for contemplation. The original architects could not have planned for this specific effect, but their proportions and materials create perfect conditions for the music of water and stone. You find yourself drawn to a column that stands slightly apart from the others. Its capital is carved with particular care. Creatures that seem more alive than their neighbors. Details that catch and hold attention even in the diminishing light. The rain flows down this column in perfectly spaced streams that create a natural rhythm as they strike the stone floor below. Place your hand against this column's base and feel the coolness of wet stone beneath your palm. The marble has absorbed the day's rain and holds it like a reservoir, not just on its surface, but within the microscopic pores of the stone itself. This is how marble buildings survive across centuries, by learning to work with water rather than simply resisting it. The column vibrates almost imperceptibly under your touch. At first you think it might be your imagination, but then you realize you are feeling the accumulated impact of thousands of raindrops striking the stone high above. Each drop too small to notice individually, but together creating a tremor that travels down through the entire structure. The column is singing a song too low for human ears, but perfectly audible to human touch. You close your eyes and listen to the rain around you. With vision removed, the acoustic landscape becomes more complex and detailed. You can distinguish between rain striking different types of surfaces, the sharp percussion of drops on flat stone, the softer sound of water falling, boop, into pools, the musical tinkle of streams cascading from carved details. Each column contributes its own voice to this chorus. Some ring like bells when struck by particularly large drops. Others produce sounds more like sighs or whispers. The fallen columns provide bass notes, deep, resonant tones that seem to emerge from the stone floor itself. Together they create a composition that is never quite the same from moment to moment, yet maintains an underlying consistency that suggests purpose and structure. You open your eyes and find that the light has continued to fade. Evening is approaching, though the heavy clouds make it difficult to judge the exact time. The rain continues with undiminished persistence, neither increasing nor decreasing, but maintaining the steady rhythm that has become the heartbeat of this place. In this grayer light, the carvings around you take on different meanings. Details that appeared purely decorative in brighter illumination now reveal symbolic depths. The intertwining animals, the geometric patterns, the stylized plant forms, all seem to participate in a visual language that speaks of cycles and seasons, growth and decay, the eternal return of natural processes. You begin to understand why the ancient builders chose to work in stone rather than more perishable materials. These carvings were created to last, not just for decades or centuries, but for millennia. The artists who shaped them understood that their work would be viewed by people they could never imagine, in circumstances they could never predict. Yet they carved with confidence that beauty and skill would transcend the specific historical moment of their creation. The rain has become your teacher in this understanding. Water is both destroyer and preserver. It erodes stone grain by grain, yet it also cleans and protects, washing away debris and pollution that might cause more rapid decay. The same force that will eventually reduce these columns too. Sand also maintains them in the present, keeping their surfaces clean and their details sharp. You walk slowly among the columns as the light continues to fade. Each pillar you pass seems to tell part of a larger story, not just the story of the empire that built this place, but the story of human ambition confronting geological time. The stones will outlast nations and languages, and whole civilizations, yet they preserve within themselves evidence of human dreams and human skill. The rain connects you to all of this history. Every drop that strikes your skin has participated in cycles of evaporation and precipitation that have continued since the earth first cooled. The water falling on you now once fell on the builders of Persepolis. It watered the gardens of Babylon and filled the rivers of ancient Egypt. It will continue falling long after every human artifact has returned to dust. This realization is not melancholy but peaceful. You are part of something larger than individual human life, part of the slow conversation between earth and sky, stone and water, time and endurance, that gives meaning to both momentary experience and eternal duration. The rain falls on you as it falls on the columns, without judgment, without hurry, with infinite patience and perfect persistence. You pause beside a pool of rainwater that has collected in a depression between broken stones. The water's surface reflects the darkening sky above and the looming silhouettes of the columns around you. But the reflections are broken constantly by new drops striking the water's surface. Each impact sends concentric circles spreading outward, patterns of cause and effect that interact and interfere and create moments of perfect symmetry before dissolving into randomness. You kneel beside the pool and cup some of the rainwater in your hands. It tastes clean and soft, purified by its journey through clouds and sky, flavored only by the minerals it has dissolved from marble on its way to your palms. Till you drink slowly, participating directly in the hydrological cycle that connects you to every other living thing on Earth. As you stand, you notice that small oil lamps or torches would have been placed in niches around this space during evening ceremonies. The dancing light would have animated the carved reliefs, making the stone figures seem to move and breathe. The interplay of flame and shadow would have created a theatrical environment where the boundary between art and life became beautifully ambiguous. Now the only illumination comes from the gray sky above, filtered through clouds and rain into a soft, even glow that reveals rather than dramatizes. This light is perfect for contemplation rather than spectacle. It invites quiet observation rather than emotional response. It encourages patience rather than excitement. You continue walking as the day slowly ends. The rain maintains its gentle rhythm, a percussion section that never tires, never varies its tempo, never calls attention to itself, yet never allows itself to be forgotten. It provides the soundtrack for your exploration of this ancient place, a reminder that some processes continue regardless of human presence or absence. The columns stand around you like guardians of memory, not just human memory, but geological memory. The slow record written in stone of mountain building and erosion, crystallization and weathering. They connect you to deep time while sheltering you in the present moment. They offer perspective on the scale of change while providing stability in the immediate experience of walking through rain among ancient stones. You notice the rain beginning to strike you more directly as you walk deeper into the complex. The columns here are more widely spaced, built to support roofs that covered greater spans, but the roofs themselves disappeared long ago, leaving only the uprights to mark where shelter once existed. You need to find a place where stone still covers stone, where ancient architecture can provide protection from the weather it has endured for 25 centuries. Ahead, you see the silhouette of a structure that promises refuge. It rises from the platform like a great stone tent, walls still standing, portions of roof still intact, columns supporting actual overhead protection rather than empty sky. This is one of the audience halls, a portico where rulers once received visitors and conducted the formal business of empire. You walk toward this shelter with unhurried steps. The rain continues its steady fall, but you are in no distress. Your clothing has absorbed moisture gradually throughout your exploration, achieving a state of damp equilibrium with the environment around you. You are wet, but not uncomfortable, adapted to the conditions rather than fighting them. The portico grows larger as you approach. Its proportions become clear, columns spaced to create an intimate environment within the larger complex, walls positioned to provide shelter while maintaining connection to the spaces beyond, roof fragments that still span significant portions of the interior. This is not a ruin, but a survivor, damaged by time, but still capable of fulfilling its original function. You pass between the entrance columns and feel the immediate change in acoustic environment. The sound of rain becomes more focused here, less diffuse, more architectural. Drops striking the remaining roof sections produce different tones than drops striking open stones. Water flowing down interior columns follows different paths than water flowing down exposed pillars. The effect is like entering a natural concert hall designed specifically for the performance of rain music. The floor of the portico is paved with the same carefully fitted marble blocks you have walked on throughout your exploration, but here the stones show different patterns of wear. This was a space where people lingered rather than simply passed through. The stone near the walls is less polished than the stone in the center, evidence that visitors tended to stand or sit near the shelter of the walls, put rather than venture into the middle of the room. You choose a spot near the back wall, where an intact section of roof provides complete protection from the rain above. The wall behind you rises to twice your height, high enough to create a sense of enclosure, low enough to maintain visual connection to the landscape beyond. The stone surface shows traces of ancient plaster and even fragments of painted decoration that have survived in the protection of this partial shelter. You settle yourself against the wall with your back supported by cool marble. The stone accepts your weight without complaint. It has supported the weight of visitors for millennia, and shows no signs of fatigue. The surface is smooth beneath your shoulders, polished by countless people who have chosen this same spot for rest and contemplation. From this position, you can observe the rain falling beyond the portico's protection. It descends in straight lines when there is no wind, curves gracefully when breezes disturb its path. The drops catch what little light filters through the clouds and create brief sparkles as they fall. Some strike the stone floor beyond the roof and create small splashes. Others land in accumulated pools and disappear with barely a ripple. The sound of rain here becomes layered and complex. You hear the percussion of drops on the remaining roof sections above your head, a steady drumming that provides rhythmic foundation for other sounds. You hear water flowing down the columns that support this roof, musical streams that follow the carved channels with liquid precision. You hear the splash and tinkle of water reaching the floor and spreading across the stone surface in thin sheets. But you also hear the absence of these sounds in the space immediately around you. The shelter creates zones of acoustic contrast, areas where the rain sounds are muted or eliminated entirely. The effect is like listening to a symphony from an acoustically perfect seat, where every section of the orchestra can be distinguished clearly while contributing to the overall harmony. You close your eyes and lean more fully against the wall behind you. The stone feels solid and enduring, not just physically stable, but somehow permanent in a way that transcends ordinary building materials. This wall has stood through earthquakes and storms, through wars and invasions, through the rise and fall of civilizations. It offers a continuity that connects you to every other person who has ever sought shelter in this same space. The coolness of the marble seeps slowly through your clothing. It is not an uncomfortable chill, but a gentle reminder of stone's patient relationship with temperature. The wall absorbs heat slowly and releases it slowly, moderating the extremes of weather through sheer thermal mass. In summer, it would provide cooling refuge from the sun. Now, in the rain, it offers solid support that seems capable of enduring forever. You breathe slowly and deeply. The air here tastes different than the air in the open spaces beyond the portico. It carries less moisture, protected as it is from the direct impact of falling rain. It holds subtle scents of old stone and ancient mortar, traces of minerals that have leached slowly from marble joints over centuries. There is something almost medicinal about this air, clean and slightly alkaline, like the atmosphere in deep caves or mountain springs. Your body begins to relax more completely against the supporting stone. The tension in your shoulders releases degree by degree. Your breathing slows to match the unhurried rhythm of the rain beyond the roof's protection. Your heartbeat finds synchrony with the steady percussion of water on stone, not the frantic synchrony of excitement, but the peaceful alignment of rest and natural rhythm. The portico around you creates a perfect environment for this kind of deep relaxation. The space is large enough to prevent feelings of confinement, but small enough to maintain intimacy. The partial roof provides shelter without complete enclosure. You remain connected to the weather and the larger landscape while being protected from their direct effects. The sound of rain continues around you, but muted and musical rather than overwhelming. You open your eyes briefly to survey your surroundings once more. The columns that support the roof above your head are carved with the same attention to detail that characterizes all the stonework in this ancient complex. Even here, in what was essentially a waiting area, the builders refused to compromise on beauty or craftsmanship. Every surface that could be decorated has been decorated. Every structural element has been shaped with aesthetic consideration. The capitals of these columns feature carved animals that seem almost alive in the subdued light filtering through the rain clouds. Lions and bulls and mythical creatures gaze outward from their stone perches, water dripping from their carved eyes like slow tears. But these are not tears of sorrow. They are tears of endurance, of patience, of the deep satisfaction that comes from fulfilling one's purpose across geological spans of time. You close your eyes again and sink deeper into relaxation. The wall behind you seems to curve slightly to accommodate your posture. Not actually. Change in shape, of course, but somehow adapting to your needs through the simple physics of pressure and support. The stone becomes not just a surface to lean against, but a partner in rest. Solid where you need stability, yielding where you need comfort. The rain beyond the portico continues its gentle percussion. The sound has become so constant that it functions almost like silence, a background against which other sounds become more noticeable. You hear the settling of stone as temperature changes cause microscopic expansions and contractions. You hear the whisper of air moving through spaces between fitted blocks. You hear the distant splash of water finding its way to lower levels through channels and drains planned by architects who understood the behavior of rainwater on stone surfaces. These sounds do not disturb your growing peace, but enhance it. They remind you that you are resting within a living system, not just a pile of stones, but a carefully designed environment that continues to function according to its original specifications. The drainage works efficiently. The shelter protects effectively. The proportions please the eye and soothe. That be spirit just as they were intended to do 25 centuries ago. Your breathing becomes slower and more regular. Each inhalation brings in air that tastes of rain and stone and the deep time that marble represents. Each exhalation releases the tensions and urgencies of ordinary life. You are sinking into a different kind of time, not the hurried time of the schedules and obligations, but the patient time of geology and weather, and the slow conversation between human craftsmanship and natural forces. The space around you begins to feel larger and smaller simultaneously. Larger because the portico connects you to the vast complex beyond and to the landscape that stretches away in all directions, under the rain-filled sky. Smaller because the immediate environment of shelter and support becomes more intimate as you sink deeper into rest. You are held by stone and protected by ancient engineering and surrounded by the gentle music of water finding its eternal paths downward. You shift slightly to find an even more comfortable position. The marble wall accommodates this adjustment perfectly. Its surface cool and smooth against your back. It's angled just right to support your weight without strain. You feel as though you could remain in this position indefinitely, not from lethargy or exhaustion, but from the deep satisfaction of finding perfect harmony between your physical needs and the environment that surrounds you. The rain continues beyond the portico's protection, neither increasing nor decreasing, neither threatening nor withdrawing, but maintaining its steady contribution to the ongoing dialogue between sky and earth that has continued. Since these stones were first quarried from distant mountains, you are witness to this dialogue, participant in it through your presence here, blessed by it through the shelter and peace it provides. Your eyelids grow heavier as you listen to the layered sounds of rain on different surfaces. The rhythm is hypnotic, not monotonous, but subtly varied, like listening to a master drummer who understands that the spaces between beats are as important as the beats themselves. Each drop of rain strikes stone at a slightly different angle, with slightly different force, creating slightly different sound. The variations are infinite, but the pattern remains constant. You feel yourself beginning to drift towards sleep, not the restless sleep of exhaustion, but the peaceful sleep of perfect security. The stone wall behind you will not move. The roof above you will continue to shed rain as it has shed rain for centuries. The ancient builders who created this shelter understood something essential about human needs. The need for protection that does not confine, for shelter that does not separate, for rest that does not isolate. The portico embraces you with stone arms that have held countless visitors before you, and will hold countless visitors after you. You are part of an endless succession of people who have found peace in this same space, who have felt the same cool support of marble against their backs, who have listened to the same eternal conversation between rain and stone. The continuity is comforting. You rest not just in a physical space, but in a tradition of rest that stretches back across centuries. Your body settles more completely against the wall. Every muscle finds its proper degree of relaxation, enough to release tension, not enough to lose alertness. You remain aware of your surroundings, while allowing yourself to sink into deeper and deeper peace. The boundary between your body and the stone that supports it becomes less distinct. You are not just resting against the wall. You are becoming part of the larger system, pay of shelter and support that this ancient architecture represents. The sound of rain becomes more distant as your consciousness turns inward. It does not disappear, but becomes part of the background of peace, like the sound of waves on a distant shore or wind through trees in a forest far away. It continues to mark time and maintain rhythm, but more gently now, more like a lullaby than a percussion performance. You are ready for deeper rest now. The portico has prepared you, washed you clean with its gentle rain, supported you with its enduring stone, sheltered you with its patient architecture. You have found the perfect place to surrender to sleep, protected but not confined, supported but not constrained, held by forces that have proven their reliability across the vast spans of historical time. The wall behind you continues its silent vigil. The roof above you continues to shed rain with the efficiency designed into it by builders who understood both engineering and beauty. The rain beyond the portico continues its ancient dialogue with stone and earth and the endless cycle of weather that connects all moments and all places in the great conversation between sky and ground. You are ready to join that conversation through sleep, to add your quiet breathing to the rhythm of rain, to let your dreams flow like watered down stone channels toward the deep, pools of rest that await at the foundation of all peaceful sleep. The transition from waking to sleeping happens as gradually as the transition from day to night. There is no sudden moment when consciousness ends. Instead, awareness shifts slowly inward, like water finding deeper channels in stone, like rain settling into the microscopic spaces between marble grains. You feel yourself sinking deeper against the wall that supports you. The stone seems to soften without losing its essential strength, not changing its nature, but revealing a gentleness that was always present beneath its apparent hardness. The marble accepts your weight completely now, distributing the pressure across its surface so evenly that you feel weightless, suspended between earth and sky in a cradle of ancient craftsmanship. The sound of rain continues around the portico, but its character changes as you sink towards sleep. Individual drops become less distinct. The sharp percussion of water on stone transforms into something more like wind through leaves, softer, more continuous, less demanding of attention. The rhythm remains constant, but it moves from foreground to background, becoming the foundation for deeper rest rather than an object of active listening. Your breathing slows to match this deeper rhythm. Each inhalation draws in air that carries the essence of rain and stone, and the patient endurance of marble that has weathered 25 centuries of storms. Each exhalation releases not just carbon dioxide, but the accumulated tensions of ordinary time, the hurried pace of modern life, the anxiety of schedules and deadlines, the weight of concerns that seem important only when measured against human rather than geological timescales. The coolness of the stone spreads through your body slowly, not the chill of discomfort, but the cool peace of underground springs, of morning air in mountain meadows, of shade beneath ancient trees. This coolness does not make you shiver, but makes you calm. It slows your circulation just enough to encourage rest, without causing distress. Your body recognizes this temperature as perfect for sleep, cool enough to discourage restlessness, warm enough to maintain comfort around you. The portico settles into its own version of night rest. The remaining roof sections shed rain with quiet efficiency. The columns stand their eternal watch, unmoved by weather, unchanged by the passage of hours and seasons. The carved capitals continue their silent vigil. Lions and bulls and mythical creatures whose stone eyes reflect nothing but, whose presence provides a sense of protection that transcends the merely physical. You feel your consciousness beginning to detach from immediate sensory experience. The boundary between your body and the wall supporting it becomes increasingly unclear. You are not disappearing. Rather, you are expanding, becoming part of the larger system of shelter and stone and falling rain that surrounds you. Your individual identity remains intact while connecting to something vast and enduring and peaceful. The rain beyond the portico takes on the quality of distant music, not melody in any conventional sense, but rhythm and harmony that speak to something deeper than conscious appreciation. This is the music that stone itself makes when touched by water across centuries. The slow song of erosion and preservation, destruction and creation. The patient transformation of mountains into soil through the gentle but persistent agency of weather. Your dreams begin before you are fully asleep. They arise naturally from the environment around you. Visions of the portico as it once was, filled with the warm light of oil lamps and torches, alive with the voices of people who came here to conduct the business of empire. But these dreams are not historical reconstructions. They are poetry written in stone and shadow. Imagination sparked by authentic materials, but free to create new meanings from ancient forms. In your dream vision, the rain continues to fall, but now it falls on gardens that once grew between the columns, fountains and pools, and carefully tended plantings that turned this complex into a paradise of water and greenery and flowering stone. The sound of rain on leaves mingles with the sound of rain on marble. The scent of wet earth and growing things adds complexity to the mineral purity of wetted stone. The rain continues through your dreams, sometimes gentle, sometimes stronger, but always present as the connecting thread that links all experiences across time. The same water that falls in your dreams fell on the builders who raised these stones. It will continue falling long after every human structure has returned to Earth. This continuity provides comfort rather than melancholy. You are part of something larger than individual life, more enduring than personal concerns, more beautiful than any single moment could contain. Your sleep deepens toward the profound rest that comes only when body and mind achieve perfect harmony with their environment. The stone wall continues to support you with infinite patience. The partial roof continues to shed rain with engineered efficiency. The ancient architecture continues to function exactly as intended, providing shelter that protects without confining, support that sustains without constraining, beauty that pleases without overwhelming. In the deepest levels of sleep, your dreams transform into something beyond images or narratives. You experience directly the perspective of stone, the vast temporal scale on which marble measures change, the molecular processes through which minerals achieve their crystalline structure, the geological forces that shaped these blocks long before human hands carved them into architectural elements. This is not knowledge in any academic sense, but participation, direct experience of what it means to exist at the intersection of human ambition and geological time. You dream the dreams of rain itself, the cycle of evaporation and condensation that lifts water from oceans to clouds to precipitation, the journey through soil and rock that brings underground streams to surface springs. The patient work of dissolving mountains, grain by grain, and carrying them toward the sea. You understand viscerally the process that connects every drop of water to every other drop, every moment of weather to every other moment, every place on earth to every other place through the circulation of moisture and air. These cosmic dreams are not abstract, but intensely personal. You feel yourself as part of the hydrological cycle, your body composed largely of water that has participated in countless previous journeys through atmosphere and earth. The rain that falls around the portico while you sleep is not separate from you, but part of the larger system of which you are also a component. The boundary between self and environment dissolves completely in the democracy of deep sleep. The stone wall behind you continues its silent support throughout the night. It has supported countless sleepers before you, travelers and pilgrims, merchants and diplomats, guards and servants who found rest in this same space during the centuries when Persepolis was a living city. Now it supports you with the same unwavering reliability, asking nothing, providing everything necessary for perfect rest. Your breathing becomes so slow and regular that it matches the rhythm of stone expanding and contracting with temperature change. Processes so gradual they are normally imperceptible, but perfectly audible to the deep awareness of profound sleep. You breathe with the patience of geology, the endurance of architecture, the persistence of weather systems that maintain their cycles across millennia. The rain beyond the portico continues its gentle percussion throughout the night, not louder, not softer, but perfectly consistent in its provision of acoustic background for sleep. It creates a cocoon of white noise that protects your rest from disturbance, while maintaining connection to the natural world. Under its protection, your sleep becomes as deep as underground pools, as peaceful as morning mist, as refreshing as the first rain after drought. Hours pass without measurement. In sleep, this deep time does not advance linearly, but pools and flows like water finding its level among stones. Minutes feel like hours, hours feel like minutes. The entire night passes like a single breath, drawn slowly and released gently into the patient. Darkness that embraces both sleeper and shelter. The columns around you stand their eternal watch. The carved capitals continue their silent guardianship. The ancient engineering continues to function with precision that modern builders would admire. Everything combines to create perfect conditions for the profound rest that the human body and spirit require. Not just absence of disturbance, but active support from environment designed specifically to promote deep peace. Your dreams now are the dreams of stone and water, and the slow conversation between earth and sky that has continued since the planet first cooled enough for weather to exist. You participate in this conversation, not as observer, but as element. Your sleeping body, another component in the larger system of matter and energy. That includes rainfall and marble, and the spaces between them where consciousness can rest in perfect security. The rain falls on the portico roof above you with the same gentle persistence it has maintained throughout your journey to this place. Each drop follows paths carved by master craftsmen, who understood how water moves across stone surfaces. Each stream flows toward drains positioned by engineers who calculated precisely how much rainfall their system could handle. Every element of the shelter around you has been designed and built and proven by 25 centuries of weather. You sleep wrapped in this envelope of tested reliability, protected by stone that has never failed, sheltered by engineering that has never broken, supported by architecture that has only grown more beautiful with age. Your rest is not just personal recovery, but participation in the larger rest that this ancient place has provided to countless visitors across the enormous span of its existence. The night holds you as the stone holds you, gently but firmly, completely but without constraint. You sleep the sleep of perfect security, deep as mountain roots, peaceful as sunrise over still water, dreamless now as stone itself in the patient darkness that wraps both ruins and rain in the same embracing silence. Morning will come eventually. The rain will end. The light will return. You will wake refreshed and renewed. But now there is only sleep as profound as the foundations beneath the portico, as peaceful as the spaces between raindrops, as perfect as the harmony between human need and natural provision that these ancient builders achieved in their transformation of raw stone into eternal shelter. We rest in Persepolis. The rain falls gently beyond your shelter. The columns stand guard around your sleep. The night embraces you with the same patience that marble shows to weather, the same endurance that architecture shows to time, the same peace that only perfect rest can provide, and you sleep